Hey everyone, welcome back. I hope you're doing well, and I hope everyone's having a great time and enjoying gathering things and getting ready for Halloween and got those costumes planned out. And I think I'm going to go ahead and say it. Happy Halloween. Now, I know this video is coming out maybe the 1st of October, but for those of us that are horror fans for life, it's the movies, it's the food, it's the culture, it's everything. So I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I'm going to say it probably for the entire month of October. Happy Halloween. Plus, I'm also an October baby, so I think I have the right. So, in this look today, I turned myself into a demon. I have the horns, I have the makeup. I'm sticking to browns and yellows on this one, and I hope you enjoy it. Then let's just get into the footage. To start, I am needing some brown paint, which I do not have. These are cream paints. They're a little bit older, so I decided to use these products, mixing red and green together to give me brown. You can mix other colors for brown, such as blue and orange. It leans a little bit more toward the green side, and purple and yellow. And what you see me doing here is I'm testing that against the skin when I tap out the color and against the brush stroke. And you see that when I tap it out, it's still a little too red. So I continue to add some green until that goes away and I get the color that I want. And I do this because when I want to get rid of harsh lines and paints, I tend to tap the color off and in areas that I need it. So I just continue to do this until I get the color that I want. It's also a good opportunity to use the products that you have on hand to save yourself some money. That way you're not running out buying things that you might not necessarily need. And also it was a good way to showcase both products to use in this video with cream and grease paints. Moving on to the fingers, I created mine by taking aluminum foil and wrap them tight around my fingers. It's a good way not to use an adhesive. If they become loose around in the middle of the night and you're out, you can just tighten them around your finger. Now I'm taking, it's a 2-ply tissue paper, and I tore that apart and into strips. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put liquid latex all over the finger, being sure that I cover every part of the aluminum foil. Be sure to get that latex into all those grooves and wrap your tissue paper around. This does not have to be precise because you're going to lay down another layer of liquid latex. And when I do this, some tissue paper is embossed. You need to cover that up. Just keep tapping into the tissue paper until that goes away. Once those are dry, I take my flour and I go over the tackiness of the liquid latex so it's easier to paint. And if you're using a 1-ply tissue paper, this should take no time for it to dry. Now going in with an eyeshadow palette, since the liquid latex does dry a little bit on the yellow side, I'm using this to my advantage, and I'm just coloring in and pushing that shadow with the lighter colors first, and then I take the darker color to make those ridges pop out with a little bit more detail for the overall look. To lock in the color of the fingers, I just go over with a small thin layer of clear gloss. Moving on to the horns now, I had leftover polymer plastic from the last project I worked on, and so I made these horns, and that's how this look came about, using products that you have left over as to not waste money or time. And I carried the same colors from the fingers from the eyeshadow palette all the way over these horns, concentrating the darker color on the bottom and bleeding that out toward the top. Coffee, nap, sparkle, and repeat. If there was ever such a shirt that represented my life, this would be it. It is time to block out the eyebrows. Taking a washable glue and a spoolie, I go through and I push my eyebrows down. I did not want them to be up over the brow bone. I have not tried this technique before, but the technique of blocking the eyebrows out, there's several different ways to do it. If you're going with a completely different look that's opaque, such as white, you're going to want to color correct that color so it doesn't bleed through. And after each layer, you want to powder to make sure that it runs smooth. Here I'm taking the concealer to block out the color, but I'll be honest guys, I didn't like how my eyebrows were laying down. I thought there was too much product, so I started over again, and it actually did not work this time because I had too much product build up, and so you see that my eyebrows do break away and they make it look later on, but hey, you live and learn. Let my mistakes not be yours. Here I am mapping out the position where my horns are going to be. Here I am marking out the areas that my paint is going to be around the orbital bone and around the nose. If you are using more of an opaque color for your look, I would wait to do this step after I got that layer on first. Going in with a foundation corrector, and then this one is from LA Girl, and it's used to help change the undertone of your foundation. And I knew that by mapping out the look that I could still see the lines up underneath this one. I want it to be more skin-like. That way there was a bit more transformation, and the blue veins that I used in this look would be a little bit easier to read. Going in with a grease paint to outline. This is a preference I use for the outlines because grease paint, you have a little bit more control on the brush, and also it's a little bit heavier, so when you put down the cream paints it tends to not bleed past that heavier grease line. Going in using the paint that I mixed from earlier, I take it and I fill in the areas that need to be full of color. Using the same eyeshadow palette to set those paints, I go in with a brown and just make sure that those are locked in and dry. Continuing to color in the nose, I go through the smaller brush for more control and also lock those in and set it with more eyeshadow. And I also carry this all the way down to the mouth and lip area, letting that color bleed past the natural lip line. I find that if you take away some features that make it more recognizable as human, like eyebrows, changing the nose, and changing the mouth, tends to really transform the look that you're going for. And I also take the same palette and I go ahead and contour my face, building the color up, making it bleed into the hairline just so it's more cohesive. Taking that brown, I branch those colors out on the edge of each design, tapping it in so it's not a harsh line. And my idea behind this look is that it's a demon in transformation. That's why there's still some human elements to it, and that the color is bleeding out up under the skin. And that the reason for using a lighter foundation instead of something more opaque was to achieve the overall effect of something in transformation. Going in with my on-set Skin Illustrator alcohol-based paints, I paint those blue veins in, tapping them in through areas, and just randomly go out throughout the design. I carry this process and this coloration all the way down throughout the neck and the hands and the arms, anything that's going to be exposed outside of the costume. The silicone neck pieces you see on this design came from a previous silicone mix, and the mixture pulled dry up out of the cup. Just thought it gave it a bit more character. Using Pros-Aide to glue those horns into place. The skin around my horns is a silicone mixture, a 1-to-1 ratio of part A into a cup and part B into a cup, being sure not to mix your utensils. With part C, a thickener. I pour B into A and get that mixed in and apply 8 drops of thickener. Based upon your environment and the amount of thickener that you put into your mixture is going to dictate about how much time that you have to work with this. In this case, I had about 3 minutes before it's set. And before it does set, I go through and I fill in the gaps between the horns, and I take some oil and I go through and I smooth those edges out so they blend into the skin without a seam. I continue to build up that mixture onto the horns to give that skin-like effect. Silicone sticks to the skin pretty easily, and it does not need an adhesive to stay in place. It also is a lot easier to remove, and it does come out of the hair. I carry the white color down into my arms and into my hands. Don't forget those areas. It's time for blood. I'm using a product I got at Walmart called Thick Blood. I liked the consistency. I liked how it dried with a bit of gloss and it did not drip, but I didn't care for the color for this look because it's a bit too bright and I wanted this to be a little bit older blood around the horns. I went in with a vampire blood because it was darker, and I carry that around the edges of the skin of the horns and a little bit down into the mouth. Getting my fingers on, I take the color palette from the eyeshadow and I just continue to make the look cohesive and add shadow to match the rest of the look. Here is the final look. I hope you guys enjoyed hanging out with me today. I hope you found some parts of this tutorial useful. Leave your questions and comments below, and don't forget to find me on other social media such as Instagram and Twitter. If you like what you're seeing, please subscribe. Give me some ideas, list those also. What are you going to be for Halloween? Let me know. Tag me in your looks. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.